If F1 jargon sounds like this video is for you. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Kia and this is part 3 of F1 Basics, where I break down the F1 jargons into the simplest explanation possible so that you can actually follow along on the race day. Before we jump in, hit like and subscribe. Also, if my voice sounds like I've swallowed some gravel, well, just ignore it. My throat's been having its own pit stop drama. But we don't retire the car over minor issues.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah. Anyways, to make sense of the rest, we've got to start at, well, the start. Let's get started with rolling starts versus standing starts. Formula 1 has two ways to start a race. A standing start is the classic one. Cars are parked on the grid, lights go out, and everyone launches at once. You'll see one driver absolutely nail it while the other looks like they've missed the memo. Rolling start happens when it's too risky to do that. When the circuit's basically auditioning to be a water park or we've had a safety car. So instead of sitting still, they're moving behind a safety car. When it pulls into the pits, the front car controls the pace. And once they hit the line, it's race on again. It's less fireworks, but hey, sometimes F1 actually makes the responsible choice. A hot lap, also called the flying lap, it's the most important lap in qualifying. Here's how it works. First, the driver goes out on an out lap to warm up the tires and the brakes. That's why you'll see them weaving around and slamming the brakes. It looks silly, but it's just the car getting ready. As soon as they cross the start line after an out lap, they're finally on the hot lap. The goal is to complete the lap as fast as possible. Every driver gets multiple chances, but only their fastest lap counts. And in Formula 1, as you already know, a millisecond can be the deciding factor between the first place and the second place. If a driver nails the ultimate hot lap, they get the pole position, which means they start at the very front of the grid. That is obviously a huge advantage because clean air, no traffic, and it's just vibes. Also, an important note, hot laps are only a quali thing. In the race, we've got something called fastest laps, but they're less about grid spots and it's more about the driver's aura farming. Next up, we've got the banker lap. Think of it as a safe first attempt. So here, the driver puts in a decent time early on, so if anything happens later, like rain, crash, or a red flag, they're somewhat safe. It's similar to saving a checkpoint in your game before you try something stupid. So two more lap types that you'll hear about is the in-lap and the cool-down lap. The in-lap is the lap that you do right before diving into the pits. In a race, the in-lap is like speed writing your essay before the deadline hits. In qualifying, it's basically like closing your laptop and just chilling after the essay has been uploaded. The driver is just cruising back to the garage and, letting the car cool down and saving fuel instead of pushing. The cool down lap though happens after the race is done. Drivers back off the throttle to cool down the car and they pick up the marbles to make sure they hit the vane numbers. And obviously then take a moment to wave, thank the team and
stuff like that.
So those were all the laps sorted. Now let's zoom out a little. Instead of thinking lap by lap, the teams and the drivers think in chunks of the race. Those chunks are called stints and they can make or break your strategy. In Formula 1, a stint is a chunk of the race that you spend on one set of tires. You pit, you get new tires and you go back out, and that is a new stint altogether. Stint sounds simple, but they're a huge part of the race strategy. And three things control how good a stint is: your tires, your fuel, and pit stops. Tires. Push them too hard and they're dead fast. Treat them nice though and they'll last longer. Fuel. Cars cannot get a refuel during a race, so the drivers have to manage what they've got. Sometimes they'll get told to lift and coast, which we'll get to later in this video so that I can explain to you all in depth. Anyways, next one, pit stops. These decide when a stint ends. Short stints means more pit stops but faster pace. Long stints means fewer pit stops but you've got to babysit your tires. So yeah, stints are like the chapters of a race, but to read the story properly, you've got to understand how far the characters are. That's where gap to leader and intervals come to play. When you look at the timing tower, there are two specific things to pay attention to. The gap to leader is the big one. It tells you how far behind you are from the car in the first place. So that's the overall scoreboard. The interval is on a smaller scale. It's just the time between you and the car directly ahead of you. Whether you're fighting for P2, P12, or just trying not to be last. So that's how you read the timing screen. But there's another stat that F1 loves showing off: the speed trap. The speed trap is just a radar on the longest straight of the track, measuring the car's top speed. The exact spot can change depending on the circuit, but it's always at the spots where the cars are going full rocket mode. For teams, it's
Very useful data.
it shows how fast their car really is on the straights as compared to everyone else. For fans though, it's just pure bragging rights. The fastest ever has been recorded by Bottas in 2016, hitting 378 kilometers per hour at Baku. Okay, fast cars are one thing, but faster track, that's another. And that is called track evolution. So track evolution is just a fancy way of saying that the track gets faster the more the cars drive on it. At the start of the weekend, the track is called green.
And not literally green.
It just means slippery, dirty, or just trash for setting lap times. But as the cars keep going round and round, their tires keep on leaving rubbers on the racing line, basically the path that everyone uses. So that rubber is equals to extra grip, and at the same time, all the dust and the sand gets swept away. So that's why lap after lap, the track becomes stickier and hence quicker. That's why the end of qualifying is so intense. Everyone wants to set the lap right when the track has the most grip. So the track gets faster, but sometimes the drivers aren't allowed to. Here is where we come to the left-hand coast, the concept that I was talking about earlier. On the radio, you'll sometimes hear the teams tell the drivers to do this. And no, it doesn't mean a casual Sunday drive. It's actually a fuel-saving hack. So instead of keeping the throttle pinned right until the braking zone, the driver lifts up the throttle and just lets the car roll before hitting the brakes. This short course uses almost no fuel. You may ask,
Why does it matter?
well, the F1 cars can't refuel during a race, right? They start heavy, carrying all that heavy fuel, and the heavier it is, the slower it is as well. So saving fuel lets the team start with a lighter car, which makes them quicker overall. Now that's a trade-off, of course, because you do lose a little bit of lap time, but over a whole race, it pays off. Plus, it helps keep the brakes cool. Fuel saving is just one trick, but the strategy in F1 is way bigger than that, which is why you'll hear the teams talk about plan A, plan B, plan C, and sometimes all of them in the same race. Before the race, the drivers and the teams agree on a few different strategies. That might mean how many pit stops they'll do, when they'll come in for the pit stops, or which tires they'll use. Each strategy gets a code name: plan A, plan B, plan C, and so on. During the race, if things change, let's say the tires are wearing out too quickly or there's a safety car, the teams can always tell a driver to switch plans. Or sometimes the drivers themselves will say on the radio, hey, plan A isn't working, let's think about plan B, and so on and so forth. It's all about flexibility. Sticking to one plan is very risky, so teams need to keep backup options ready just in case. Simple, right? Yeah. Unless you're Ferrari, where plan A turns into
What the hell? What the hell, Ante? What the hell, Barry?
So if the plans are the playbook, then the sandbagging is the bluff. In Formula 1, sandbagging is when a team pretends to be slower than they actually are. They'll cruise around in practice or testing, setting lap times which are low-key mid, all while hiding the car's real speed. Why? To trick the other teams. Rivals will think,
Oh, they're not even that good. Like, the pace is not given, the pace is bad.
then qualifying comes around, the sandbag comes off, and the real speed is actually exposed. And suddenly, the car's flying. And sure, the rivals usually suspect it because the data and the GPS don't lie. But it's all a part of the pre-race mind games. If sandbagging is pretending to be slow, Glory Run is the exact opposite. It's all about showing off. So here's how it works. A team might send out their car on super low fuel and with the softest tires possible. Now that combo makes the car look lightning fast even if it isn't. The driver sets a headline grabbing lap time, the garage feels good, and sometimes it even helps attract sponsors. Here's the catch. It doesn't always mean much. Because a team can look like world champions in the testing, but then show up to the race and don't actually back it up. And that's a wrap on part 3 of Formula 1 basics. From rolling starts to glory runs, now you're a little more fluent in the F1 lingo. Once again, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and do turn on post notifications. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!